There's a moment every woman experiences, but will never talk about. It happens late at night, phone in hand, scrolling through her ex's Instagram. Not the ex she loved, no, but the ex she rejected. The one who wasn't good enough, wasn't exciting enough, wasn't tall enough, rich enough, interesting enough. And now, she's looking at his wedding photos. His wife isn't more beautiful than her, isn't more successful, isn't more educated. By every metric society told her matters, she should have been the obvious choice. But here's the reality. She's alone at 36. He's married at 38. This moment breaks something inside her, because it forces a question she's been running from for years. What if the men I rejected were actually the right ones? What if my standards weren't standards at all? What if they were just elaborate defense mechanisms protecting me from something far more terrifying than settling? See, the truth women fear more than anything? It isn't loneliness, it's not aging, it's not even dying alone. It's this: the possibility that they engineered their own isolation, that every choice they made, every man they dismissed, every year they waited, was a brick in a prison they built themselves. And by the time they realized what they were building, the walls were already too high to climb. Let me show you how this prison gets constructed, because understanding this changes everything about female behavior in dating. Women in their early 20s operate under a dangerous assumption that their value in the dating market is permanent, that the attention they receive at 23 will still be there at 33, that they can spend a decade finding themselves and men will just patiently wait. Here's what actually happens. At 24, she's getting approached by men she considers beneath her. Guys who are stable but boring, kind but not exciting, loyal but not wealthy yet. She rejects them, not cruelly, just casually. I'm focusing on my career. I'm not ready. I need someone more ambitious. Now here's the thing about these men. They don't disappear. They improve, they build wealth, they develop confidence, they become the exact men she'll desperately want at 34. But here's the brutal part. When they become high value, they're not coming back for her. They're choosing women who wanted them before they had everything. Women who saw their potential. Women who are now 27 while she's 37. See, she doesn't realize the trade she's making, rejecting present potential for future fantasy. By the time she's ready, the men she passed on have graduated to a different league. And the men in that league, they have options, younger options, options who didn't make them feel inadequate when they were building themselves. When reality starts hitting around age 32, something interesting happens. Instead of self-reflection, women reach for explanations that protect their ego. Men are intimidated by my success. Really? Or do they just find your attitude exhausting? Let me give you a real example. Dinner date. First meeting. Within 20 minutes, she's mentioned her salary 3 times, her job title 5 times, her apartment's location twice. She interrupts him when he talks about his business because she needs to explain why her career trajectory is more impressive. When he suggests splitting the bill, she lectures him about traditional masculinity. He doesn't call back, not because he's intimidated, because spending time with her felt like a job interview where he was constantly failing. But here's what she'll tell her friends. He couldn't handle a strong woman. And they'll agree because they're all telling themselves the same lie. This is the second brick in the prison, the comfortable narrative, the story that explains failure without requiring change. All the good men are taken, men are trash. He wasn't emotionally available. These phrases aren't analysis. They're shields protecting women from the terrifying possibility that they might need to look inward instead of outward. Here's a truth that makes people uncomfortable. A woman's dating market value peaks in her mid-20s and declines steadily after. Not because women become less valuable as humans, no, but because men selecting for long-term partnership are making biological calculations, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. A 28-year-old man looking to start a family has options. He can date the 35-year-old career woman or the 26-year-old teacher. Both are great people, but one gives him more time, more fertile years, lower pregnancy risks, more energy for raising young children. He's not being cruel, He's being practical. Women spend their 20s being told this doesn't matter, that they have all the time in the world, that focusing on career is empowering, and it is empowering, until suddenly it's not, until she's 37, and every date starts with the man calculating timelines. When do you want kids? How soon? What's your fertility situation? The conversation has shifted. At 25, she was evaluating men. At 37, she's being evaluated, and the criteria are harsher than anything she ever applied. The power dynamic has completely inverted, and nobody warned her this was coming. Here's where it gets really dark, because it's not just about age, it's about history. Modern dating advice tells women their past doesn't matter, that body count is just a number, that men who care about sexual history are insecure, that anyone who judges previous relationships is controlling. Then she meets a high-value man, successful, stable, ready for commitment. And he asks about her past. Not because he's insecure, no, because he's screening for patterns. How many long-term relationships? How many ended because of her choices versus circumstances? What's her longest relationship? Why did it end? Has she ever been engaged? Why didn't she marry him? These questions aren't judgmental. They're practical. He's looking at her relationship resume the same way an employer looks at a work resume. Job hopper? Red flag. Fired from multiple positions? Red flag. Never stayed anywhere longer than a year? Red flag. Can't get along with previous managers? Red flag. She realizes in this moment that every casual relationship, every situationship, every just seeing where it goes has created a pattern. And the pattern tells a story. And the story is concerning. Because if multiple men dated her but none committed, the common denominator is obvious. This is the moment the fear becomes tangible. Because these choices are permanent. She can't undate those men, can't erase the pattern, can't rewrite the history. High-value men looking at her past see risk, not potential. And she has no argument against it, because the evidence is undeniable. There's a specific type of panic that hits women differently than men. It's not emotional, it's physical. It's the body recognizing what the mind wants to deny. Time is running out. At 33, she starts noticing things. Her period is slightly irregular. She's more tired. Recovery takes longer. She sees pregnancy announcements from younger women and feels something visceral. Not jealousy exactly. Fear. Deep, primal fear that her body is closing a window she's not ready to acknowledge. She goes to the doctor, asks about fertility. The doctor is professional but honest. Your egg count is declining. Quality decreases each year after 35. If you want children, you should start trying soon, ideally within the next 2 years. 2 years. She doesn't even have a boyfriend. She hasn't had a second date in 6 months. And her body is setting deadlines that her life situation can't meet. This creates a desperation that men can smell from across the room. Suddenly she's not choosing partners. She's auditioning candidates for a role that needs to be filled immediately. Men sense this. They feel the urgency, the need, the biological imperative overriding everything else. And it repels them, because they're not looking for someone who needs them for their genetics. They're looking for someone who wants them for who they are. There's a massive difference between being chosen and being needed, and men absolutely know which one they're experiencing. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Female friend groups often function as support systems that enable dysfunction, not intentionally, no, but the social contract of female friendship often prohibits brutal honesty in favor of emotional support. She tells her friends about a date that went badly. She complained the whole time, checked her phone repeatedly, talked about her ex, ordered the most expensive items, expected him to pay, then criticized his restaurant choice. He didn't text after. Her friend's response? He clearly couldn't handle you. You dodged a bullet. He's probably broke anyway. Real men aren't scared of strong women. Nobody says what needs to be said. Maybe you were difficult. Maybe you came across as entitled. Maybe you should have shown more interest in him. Maybe you should work on your dating behavior. This echo chamber is deadly because it prevents course correction. Every failure gets reframed as his inadequacy. Every rejection gets explained as his insecurity. She gets sympathy instead of solutions, validation instead of truth. And year after year, the pattern continues because nobody who loves her will tell her the truth. Meanwhile, her married friends are having a different conversation behind her back. I love her, but I understand why men don't commit. She's exhausting. She's negative. She makes everything difficult. But they'll never say this to her face, so she continues, oblivious to how she's perceived. There's a specific age where reality becomes undeniable, usually somewhere between 38 and 42. The dating apps that used to generate hundreds of matches now generate dozens. The matches that used to be with men she was excited about are now with men she's settling for. The conversations that used to be playful are now transactional. Do you want kids? When? What's your timeline? She starts seeing her younger self in women around her. The 27-year-old at the bar getting approached by men. The same men who walk right past her. She remembers being that girl, having that power, making those choices, and she realizes, with crushing clarity, that she wasted it. All those men she rejected, the ones who were good enough but not exciting enough, stable but not wealthy enough, ready but not perfect enough. She sees them now on social media, married, happy, building families, living lives she convinced herself she didn't want because she was waiting for something better. And what did she wait for? A fantasy, a man who doesn't exist. 6'3", six-figure income, six-pack abs, emotionally available, traditionally masculine but also feminist, ambitious but always available, confident but never arrogant, successful but humble. She wanted a contradiction wrapped in perfection, and she rejected real men while chasing an illusion. When women start confronting this reality, they often don't process it healthily. Instead, they develop defense mechanisms that actually make their situation worse. Let me walk you through the most common ones. She doubles down on not needing anyone, gets another cat, redecorates her apartment, books a solo trip, posts aggressively about how happy she is alone. But the performance is exhausting. Every post about independence is really a cry for connection. Every declaration of not needing a man is covering the pain of not being chosen by one. Men are trash becomes all men are trash. Dating is hard becomes dating is impossible. He wasn't right becomes nobody's right. The standards don't lower. They become more impossible. Not because she actually needs these things, but because impossible standards justify continued failure. Without self-reflection, she fills the void with substitutes. Work becomes her identity. Brunch with girlfriends becomes her primary social outlet. Yoga becomes her spiritual practice. Travel becomes her passion. These aren't bad things, but she's using them to fill a space they were never meant to occupy. And the void keeps growing. No matter how much she pours into it, she rewrites her history. The men she rejected become worse in memory. He was actually kind of controlling. I'm pretty sure he had anger issues. Looking back, there were red flags. She's creating a narrative where every choice she made was right and every outcome was someone else's fault. This protects her ego, but prevents growth. There's a moment where it all crystallizes, usually triggered by something specific. Her younger sister announces a pregnancy. Her best friend from college celebrates 10 years of marriage. Her co-worker, 5 years younger, gets engaged to a great guy. In this moment, all the defenses collapse, all the narratives fail, all the justifications evaporate, and she sees her life with brutal clarity. She's alone, not because of bad luck, not because of bad men, not because of bad timing. She's alone because of choices. Her choices. She chose career over relationship in her 20s, when she could have done both. She chose excitement over stability, when stability would have built something lasting. She chose potential over presence, when presence was actually what mattered. She chose validation over connection, when connection was what she actually needed. And the worst part? These choices made sense at the time. She was following advice, doing what society told her to do, living the empowered life she was promised would lead to fulfillment. She did everything right, according to modern standards, and yet she's alone, which means either the standards were wrong or she misunderstood them. Either way, the result is the same: isolation. So what's the truth women fear more than anything? It's not a single truth, it's a cascade of truths, each one more devastating than the last. Your peak was behind you. Before you realized you were peaking, the power you had at 25 was real, and you squandered it, waiting for something better that never came. The men you rejected weren't beneath you. They were exactly your level, and you overestimated your value in the market. The men you think you deserve are pursuing women who are younger, more feminine, and less demanding than you. The advice you followed was wrong. The empowerment narratives, the career-first mentality, the don't settle rhetoric, the body count doesn't matter cope. It was all wrong, and you built your life on lies. Your friends have been lying to you. Not maliciously, no, but every time they said you're too good for him, when really you weren't. Every time they blamed him, when really you were the problem. Every time they encouraged your standards, when really those standards needed adjustment. They lied through enabling. Time stole more than your looks. It stole your fertility, your flexibility, your willingness to compromise, your ability to pair bond, your energy, your optimism. You're not the same person you were at 25. And the changes aren't improvements in the dating market. The body count did matter. The casual relationships did leave damage. The situationships did affect your ability to connect. Every person who told you otherwise was lying or coping. Men who have options care about this, and pretending they don't just made you unmarketable to the exact men you wanted. You are the common denominator. If every relationship failed, if every man left, if every connection fizzled, if every situation ended the same way, the common factor is you, not them. You. The feminist ideology that promised freedom delivered isolation. You traded partnership for independence and discovered that independence without connection is just loneliness with better branding. These truths are crushing. They dismantle every defense mechanism. They destroy every comfortable narrative. They force accountability that feels impossible to bear. This is why women fear them more than death, because accepting these truths means accepting that years were wasted, that suffering was self-inflicted, that the prison was built from the inside. But here's what nobody tells you about facing this truth. It's the only path to change. You cannot fix what you won't acknowledge. You cannot grow from denial. You cannot change trajectory while defending the direction you've been traveling. Some women face these truths at 33 and still have time to course correct. They radically adjust their standards to match their actual market value. They become genuinely pleasant instead of performatively strong. They develop feminine energy instead of competing with masculine energy. They stop screening for perfection and start appreciating adequacy. And sometimes they find good men willing to build with them. Some women face these truths at 39. And the path is harder. The men they can attract aren't the men they wanted. The compromises required feel like betrayals. The timeline for children is nearly impossible. But even here, there's a path. It just requires humility most women don't possess. And some women never face these truths. They die at 65, alone, bitter, wondering where all the good men went, still blaming, still defending, still convinced that the world was wrong and they were right, still waiting for validation that will never come. The difference between these women isn't luck, it's courage. The courage to look in the mirror and see reality, instead of the reflection they wish was there. The courage to admit that the empress has no clothes, that the strong, independent woman was just a lonely woman with good marketing. The truth women fear more than anything is that they are authors of their own unhappiness, that the choices they made, the advice they followed, the standards they maintained, the men they rejected, all of it was within their control, and they chose poorly. This truth is devastating because it means the years of suffering were preventable. The loneliness was optional. The bitterness was a choice. They could have had what they wanted, but they were looking in the wrong direction, while happiness walked away behind them. But here's the thing about devastating truths. They're only paralyzing. If you stop at acknowledgement, if you move past acknowledgement to action, devastating truths become liberating. Because if you created this prison, you can also escape it. but only if you're willing to demolish the walls instead of defending their architecture. Most women won't do this. They'll watch this video and feel attacked. They'll leave angry comments about misogyny and victim blaming. They'll share it with their friends as an example of everything wrong with men. They'll learn nothing, change nothing, and continue exactly as before. A few women will watch this and feel something crack. Some defense mechanism they've maintained for years will suddenly fail, and in that moment of brutal clarity, they'll see themselves as they actually are, not as they wish they were, not as they pretend to be, but as they actually are. Those women have a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance, because growth only starts when you stop defending what isn't working. The question is, which woman are you?